What's up and welcome to another episode of Football Everyday, coming to you live and direct as usual from the Stars Studio V here at the Wanatama Shopping Centre in PJ. My name is Nelsen once again, and with me, the usual Shebby Singh. Nice to see you again.
That's a pleasure.
And Richard Lim as well. Good to have you with us, Richard.
It's a Newcastle fan in a Barcelona shirt.
Thanks for pointing that out, Shebs. Well, guys, it is International Week, as we know, and a few good games took place last weekend in terms of World Cup qualifying. So let's start with that. Shebs, Brazil have sealed their qualification, following an excellent 3-1 win in Argentina. Surely a fully deserved 3 points for you.
Very much so. I think we are quite possibly looking at this moment in time the best team in the world. I think Dunga had time to rebuild the team.
Right.
I think Dunga's got the players that he wants. He's got players playing in positions where they are the happiest. And to go away, especially against your deadliest rival, and to smash them into the ground, literally, I think I think we are looking at the next world champions.
Right. I mean, Richard, based on that performance in Argentina, I mean, Brazil, as Shebby said, certainly look favourites, for the title next year. But what do you think Maradona needs to do with his team, in your opinion? I mean,
he needs to wake up, return to more traditional methods, because if you look at Argentina's attack that day against Brazil, where they got slaughtered, you had two players roaming around. There was no clear-cut centre forward. No, those two players got into each other's way. Now that has to change. If you look back at the old days, Crespo was the main guy. And he will always hold up the ball, and he could score some vital goals as well. So you need a big man, small man partnership, in my opinion.
I mean, Sheps, what do you think of the older players in terms of Argentina? Veron, Johannes.
I've got to be very honest and admit it. Veron, I think no, because he is the kind of player where everybody's got to respond to him. Unfortunately, he hasn't got the class left in him anymore. Got the ball, 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch. Had to take forever to release the ball. Now, if Maradona wants to still continue to be the coach of Argentina, talk to Juan Roman Riquelme, get him back into the team.
Right.
Richard is right. There was absolutely no direction in the attack. Datolo, Messi, everybody just went wherever they liked. There was no tactical discipline to their game. And please let me once again say this: Carlos Tevez was and is and will always be an average player. Just because he played for Manchester United, he's been elevated to that superstar status. No, he's not. We saw how ordinary he was. So Maradona has got big decisions to make.
Great stuff. And we'll definitely take a look at Argentina a little later on in the show. But Sheps, another country who very soon should be joining Brazil and Holland in South Africa next year would be European champions Spain. I mean, Sheps, what do you think of their 5-0 thrashing of Belgium?
Well,
I mean, pure class, right?
Yeah, it was a master class, really. I didn't get to see the dream Brazil versus Spain final in the Confederations Cup. I'm keeping my fingers crossed and my toes as well and my tongue that it will be the World Cup final next year. I mean, I think, Richard, right now the two of the most exciting teams in the world.
Great. I mean, moving on, right? A round of games is happening tomorrow morning as well. So let's look at England versus Croatia very quickly. Guys, I'm sure you're excited about that.
Really?
Lots of talk about the diving, the Eduardo diving saga and all, Beckham saying, enough. And Sheps, what do you think is going to happen?
I think, I look at Fabio Capello. England need a draw. They quite simply need a draw to qualify. Italians will know what to do. Let's go out there. Let's just do what is required to get a draw. There's no reason to put on a show at Wembley. So I think the pragmatic Fabio Capello, with his Italian tradition and culture, will do just that.
They'll do a draw.
I think it'll be a score draw, but England will safely qualify.
Right. Richard, you tend to agree?
I actually think England will win, because Bilic went to the media and ran his mouth, and Capello this morning just said that England has all the motivation they need, and he doesn't even need to say a word because Bilic said everything. Right. So England's players will definitely be fired up for this game. Okay, and then just to round off the segment, right? Struggling Argentina, as we mentioned earlier, really need to win in Paraguay. I mean, I think there's only 2 points separates them from 5th place Colombia at the moment. Can he do it, Sheps?
I think the advantage maybe for Argentina is that we're away from home. We can.
There's less pressure, right?
Let's play on the counter attack, because that's maybe something that Argentina will relish. But when they had to take the game to Brazil, it's pretty obvious that they were all over the place. So I think a more defensive Argentina playing on the counter attack. will not surprise me. I mean, I'm not saying that Argentina are a bad side, but I think they could get at least a point away in Paraguay.
I'm hoping they win because I'm actually an Argentina fan. Nice one, guys, but it's time for our first break here on Football Everyday. So do stay tuned as we'll be right back with more football chat and banter. Welcome back to Football Everyday here on the second segment of the show. Just before this, we were of course talking about the World Cup qualifiers happening tomorrow morning, so let's finish up with a couple of nations who failed to impress us so far at least. Shebs, France travelled to Serbia, with high expectations, not so much to win, but rather to put in a performance that would please the fans and kind of win them back, right?
I think, Raymond Domenech should have been sacked after Euro, actually he should have been sacked after the World Cup. But he stayed on.
Right.
I think the team has gone stale. I think they short on ideas. When you look at them individually on paper and you go, wow, Thierry Henry, Nicolas Anelka, but when you put them together as a team, they don't frighten too many people anymore. And again, I think they will be seriously be looking at a place in the playoffs because they need to get the results against Serbia. I don't know if that is possible.
Right.
So again, I mean, things go wrong, and sometimes you got to look at the man in charge and say, he had two major international tournaments, he's flopped at both,
Right.
They should have moved him on.
What do you think of Ribéry? I mean, in terms of the French team,
I think
Richard, would he make a whole lot of difference? If
I
was
believe
fit?
he would. But you got to change the style of play. I mean, Domenech's got to change the style of play. You got to bring Ribéry into the game more, plan your strategy around him. It's just like
Right.
Juventus with Diego. You got to release Ribéry the same way as Juventus and Diego, Barcelona and Messi. You got to release them, give them the freedom, and make them the creative impetus of the team, and then you'll see the result.
Great stuff. Okay, another team that's struggling, it's Portugal, Shebs. Ever since Carlos Queiroz took over, and they're in a precarious fourth place behind Sweden, Hungary, and Denmark. And they face Hungary in the Ferenc Puskás Stadium, really needing nothing less than 3 points, right, Shebs? Can they get it?
I think, I hope they don't get it, because I think, I've looked at Carlos Queiroz. I mean, they were 2 up against Denmark at home. Denmark scored 3 in the last 11-12 minutes. They needed an injury time goal to beat Albania. And then against Denmark, they didn't start the game with a recognized striker.
Right.
They had so many midfielders. They had Pepe playing in central midfield as a defensive midfielder. I mean, come on, what is the intent? What is the direction? So I will not miss not watching Cristiano Ronaldo at the World Cup. But I think Carlos Queiroz is another coach who hasn't taken Portugal forward.
Right.
So in my opinion, I wouldn't miss them if they were not there.
I mean, Richard, you tend to agree with Shebs?
No. I don't exactly like the world's first, second, and third best player in this word, so I'm inclined to agree with Shebs. But seriously, Portugal is one team that really needs to sort out their striking problems. Shebs has already highlighted it. It's terrible.
Okay, great stuff, guys, on the World Cup. That's the World Cup done and dusted, right? But just before we get into this weekend's tasty BPL fixtures, I've got our email of the week here, and this week, guys, it's from Muhammad Faiz, who's an avid Malaysian football fan. He supports the Malaysian national team. Well, guys, his email is titled A Humble Request, and basically Faiz says he's slightly disappointed that we haven't touched on our Malaysian national team on Football Everyday. Faiz, you know what?
Yeah.
We're
guilty,
right?
guilty.
Guilty as charged. Yeah.
We really should be talking more about our Malaysian national team. And how Faiz highlighted, their performance in their 2-1 loss to Saudi Arabia and the recent draw with Jordan. I know it was a couple of friendly matches. But Shebs, Faiz is really interested to hear your thoughts on the current batch of Malaysian players. So.
Well, for one, I think Rajagopal has done a great job at the moment. Since he took over from Satyanathan, he's revamped the team. He's gone with the younger players as the nucleus, as the backbone of the side. The results now are beginning to be positive. Which is always very important. There is the structure to the team. There is I would say tactical discipline in the team. and obviously I think what Rajagopal is trying to do is to keep the pressure off the players because the SEA Games gold medal is something we haven't won in the last 20 years. But the last time we won it, I was still playing. So, so it's a good thing happening. So far, as we build up to the SEA Games, we will feature our national team more and more. So at this moment in time, there is steady progress, and I'm very happy with that.
Nice one, Shebs. Faiz, well, this is exactly the kind of email we're hoping to receive from our viewers here on Football Everyday, because we want to improve our show. So thanks a lot for that, and congratulations as you've picked up a prize courtesy of Adidas for all your efforts. Well, to drop us a line, please do so at football@thestar.com.my anytime, any day, right? And we'll try and read out your emails. Great stuff, guys, but it is time for our final break here on Football Everyday. But we'll be right back with the third and final segment where we'll take a look at the weekend's BPL fixtures. So keep it locked on to Football Everyday. And you're back with us here on Football Everyday for the third and final segment of today's show. And this is, of course, the segment where we take a look at the weekend's BPL fixtures. I tell you loads of interesting fixtures coming up this weekend. So where else can we start but at White Hart Lane? Shebby's already smiling. Where second place Spurs, welcome third place Man United. Shebs, tell me why you're looking forward to this and what's going to happen.
I mean, first of all, I can't remember the last time, you could say that second Spurs against third in the table, Man United. But it is Manchester United. They have woken up. They have started their season after that result against Arsenal. With Spurs and Manchester United, we have a very bad record. We've taken 2-goal leads, have not been good enough. We've taken 3-goal leads that have not been good enough. Right. What do we need to do? Go 5 goals up before Man United score 6?
Maybe let United score a couple first.
I think that is always the yardstick for Spurs to measure themselves against Man United to decide where we stand. So over the last few seasons, we've been there. The gap, we've been down there. Man United have been up here.
Right.
Can we close the gap? For me, a good result will be a draw. If Spurs can get a draw, never mind us being at home against Man United, I think would be an indication that Spurs could seriously compete for the top 6 places.
Right, Richard. I mean, you echo Shebby there.
I agree, but I actually think that Spurs have enough in the tank to see on Manchester's challenge.
Come on.
Don't forget that Arsenal overran United in the first half.
Yeah,
and they started the second half well. It's Arsenal that imploded, Arsenal that self-destructed. I wouldn't exactly give United much credit for the victory, to be honest. I mean, DRB, whose payroll was he on? That was a striker's goal he scored.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, score prediction then, Shebs.
I'm going to go with a score draw. I think, hoping that Spurs don't lose this game.
Great stuff.
And don't take the lead.
All right, great stuff. So let's move on to the City of Manchester Stadium, where Mark Hughes' team, who have impressed so far, play host to wounded Arsenal. City will miss Robinho and likely Carlos Tevez as well. So Richard, I'll start with you on this one. Your thoughts?
Arsenal have got to shake off the memories of their last match.
Right.
They could have killed United off, but they let it go. So they're gonna. I believe Arsenal will come out firing again. The question is, can they maintain it? Well, we talk about City's embarrassment of riches. Yes, they have lots of great players, but in my opinion, Mark Hughes is light years behind Arsene Wenger when it comes to tactics. So I believe Manchester City have got to raise their game. Arsenal has just got to stay the same, start well and end well. That's all. I think Arsenal will win.
Right. I mean, Shebs, yeah.
I think,
building from Richard, are Arsenal good enough to win in Manchester? At the second time I'm asking.
I think they are, simply because I look at Manchester City. Yes, results have been impressive, but performances have yet to convince me. To me, they still lack that compactness of a proper team. Every time, they play, opponents get enough opportunities against them, but they've not been punished yet. So, a very loose Manchester City still at the moment up against Arsenal. So I'm going to go with Richard on this
Arsenal
one.
Win then.
I'm going to go with an Arsenal away win.
Nice one. Okay, and very quickly now, Shebs, the Birmingham derby. Shebs, win, lose or draw?
I'm going to go with Aston Villa winning it.
Aston Villa winning it. Oh, Richard, will Liverpool beat surprise package Burnley at Anfield?
I think Liverpool will rise to the
Will
occasion.
thrash them.
Yeah. We saw what Chelsea did. As I always,
Chelsea did, right?
said, their win against United was just pure luck.
Great stuff. Just before we leave you though, here's this week's Football Everyday fun fact, and it's something on what I like to call Football Everyday. Football Everyday's manager of the week, who's none other than Brazil coach Dunga, who we mentioned, guys. Did you know that Dunga's nickname is actually Portuguese for dopey, who's one of the 7 dwarfs? Dunga's uncle actually gave him this nickname when he believed that he would never grow to a tall stature. You have a nickname, Sheps?
Well, I'm not going to repeat that. But I think, Dunga might not be physically big in stature, but I think he's one of the best coaches in the world, captained the Brazilians to the World Cup, was always underrated in his own country. But today, the importance of that kind of a midfielder has become so prominent.
That's right.
I mean, you look at the Didier Deschamps, the Claude Makelele's, and today Gilberto Silva, Felipe Melo are very important components of the team, which allows the attacking players to show off their flair. So Dunga, was ahead of his time, and today you can see what a wonderful job he's doing.
That's right, and I think he has proven that ex-players can be good, successful managers as well, right? I mean, he's done it. Pep Guardiola has done it. So I'm hoping Maradona follows suit. But Richard, Sheps, that's about all the time we do have on this week's edition of Football Everyday. Pleasure having you as always. Thanks a lot for joining us. We'll see you next week. Till then, Nelson here, wishing you a great weekend of football. Enjoy the football that's coming your way, and it's ciao from us here on Football Everyday.
See you guys.